welcome to Good Morning Tobago. We're coming to you live from the Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort here in Lowlands, Tobago. I am Adana Kumbi, and yes, I know you're used to seeing me on the morning show, but here I am again this morning to have conversations that we need to have right here in the Tobago space. Remember, whatever happens here affects me, it affects you, it affects our entire community, and so we want you to be a part of our conversations. Remember, you can join us on our Facebook live stream and our YouTube channel, and for those of you who are on Player 102 or Floor 121 or 130, we welcome you this morning and we want you to be a part of our conversation. Yes, Tobago, we are here live on set, and this morning we're speaking with Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Junior Benjamin. This morning we have to talk about, of course, taking care of Trinidad and Tobago. What is the plan? What are the things that are happening, and how do we get out of certain situations and provide a space that is safe for all of us here in Trinidad and Tobago, and more so in the Tobago space? Good morning and welcome.
Pleasant morning to you, Adana, and to all your listening audience. It's a privilege to be here.
Of course, and always a privilege to have any member of the TTPS represent here on Tobago Updates Television, and more so the Top Cup. And we're gonna have the conversation this morning because, of course, crime is something that we have to pay attention to. And when we look at what has happened in the past couple of months, the end of last year leading into this year, the transition, so many things happened in our local spaces in terms of policing. And so we have to have conversations this morning. And before we get into the topics that we are going to speak about, I just want to talk a little bit about where we are in terms of the TTPS, the mood, the tone that is inside the TTPS now. How are we in terms of, do we have our anchor? Are we anchored, and are we ready to move forward in terms of grabbing crime by the horn and eradicating it here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, let me just start off by saying, I think that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we have gone through a growth phase, and we are certainly much better now than we were at the beginning of the year. As you rightfully said, last year we had an increase in terms of our crime statistics. However, given the SOE and also given the strategic leadership of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, what we recognize for this year, that we've seen some what I will call small wins, but significant wins at the same time. We've seen at this time that our homicide rate has gone down. It is now at least minus 33, at least 33 or 32%. And that is phenomenal, because we wanted to have at least a 15% decrease. We are now seeing a 33% decrease. So as we stand today, we have at least 158 murders. When you compare to last year, we had at least 231 murders. And I think in the following year, we had 240, in 2023, 241 and 231 respectively. And I'm saying that because when you recognize that we are almost 6 months into the year and we are still at 158, I think we should be very thankful to God. And also we need to commend the police officers who relentlessly, they are out there doing their jobs, and they're doing it faithfully. And we are seeing the fruits of that, and for that we are eternally grateful.
While we compare the figures, and we're at 158 this year, I mean, yes, significantly less than last year, and we are indeed thankful for that. But one too much, as we always say. And the approach in terms of ensuring that, I mean, realistically, a police can't be everywhere at all times. And so you would have to respond to something that might have happened. And we understand that. But in terms of getting to the root of what are some of the causes of these types of, especially violent crimes that end sometimes in fatality, loss of life, how is the community? Because I know, as I mentioned before, a police officer wouldn't be able to say that a crime is going to happen now. Right? You can't determine that. Nobody could determine that except the criminal who is about to undertake the crime. What type of relationship do we have in terms of communities, ensuring that there is strength in the communities to ensure that they come together to support, help, assist, and even understand their role, their important role in assisting the police in detecting crime and apprehending criminals?
Well, one of the I should say, the pillars that we are doing right now, which is our strategic Plan 2025 to 2027 clearly shows that community partnership is one of our pillars. And in that community partnership, what we're seeking to do is really seeking to empower communities, where the communities will take ownership of their own territories. And as they take ownership, the police, we would be working hand in hand with them to, again, seek to ensure safety and security. We believe that crime is everybody's business, and therefore it's not just about the police. It is about every person taking their rightful place. It includes also NGOs, it includes religious organizations, everybody taking that rightful place and knowing that they have a part to play. We expect the business community to be part of it. So the police service, we would be doing a three-phase approach, where we'll be looking at crime prevention, crime suppression, but at the same time, crime intervention strategies that we believe will really help us to win the war against crime.
And talking about intervention, we want to talk about the root of crime, where it starts. Somebody doesn't wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to be a criminal today. It starts somewhere. There are social issues that lead to these things, and sometimes we only look at the end and we don't look at what is the cause. And recently we've been seeing, in terms of schools, we're seeing again violence rising up in schools. We had a period where there was so much school violence, and then it kind of died down, and now we're seeing again where every time you look around, there's something happening in a school, and it's cause for concern. What are some of the strategies that the TTPS is putting in place? One, to ensure that you kind of get to the root of what is the cause, and providing the measure of support that might be required to ensure that the schools are safe places. Also, in terms of ensuring that you have that relationship, that conversation, to ensure that that place is safe once again.
Well, we recognize so very much that a lot of the issues that we find within the schools, it starts with the home. And many times, children, when they come from dysfunctional homes, you see these results taking place where, as they say, hurting people hurt people. And therefore, what the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, what we are doing presently, is that we are seeking to, one, get into the schools. And while we're there, we are going to ensure that we have, one, the police officers, the community policing officers, going into the school and speaking to the children as to the consequences of their actions. We believe if we educate the children, they are going to at least have a greater understanding of what is or what needs to be done, so that they can change their behavior. At the same time, we also have our youth clubs that are there as alternative course of action. In our youth clubs, we have different activities that deals with the behavior of students in terms of the aggression and conflict management. And these are some of the things that we are having within the youth clubs that will also help young children and even the youths become more productive citizens in Trinidad and Tobago.
And what about parenting? I mean, we're talking about providing a way for the children to understand their roles and to understand the way they should behave, among others. Is there anything put in place? Because as you mentioned before, sometimes it starts from the home. Now, talking to the child alone might not be sufficient, because the child doesn't run the home, unless they do. How do you do that interception in the home scenario, to ensure that everybody understands that they are provided the support? Because talking to a family, talking to somebody who is in a social situation is one thing, but providing that measure of support and remaining consistent, ensuring that they understand and they can trust that they have the support to ensure that their situation can change if they do the right thing, or if they partner with the TTPS, or they partner with corporate Trinidad and Tobago who wants us to come out of this place. What is put in place for that that household, that community, that social environment, to ensure that these people have that measure of support?
Well, one of the things even within the youth club settings is that the youth club doesn't just deal with the youths, but they also deal with the parents, because we recognize if we don't touch the parents, you understand, the parents are really many times the mentors and the models that the children follow. So we also take time to meet with the parents in the youth clubs, and also in terms of our intervention as police officers, we seek to use the time within what we call our station council to meet with parents as well and encourage them as to some of the do's and don'ts. We would have our social workers and also our victim and witness support officers giving that psychosocial balance to talking to the parents as well, so that they can have a full appreciation of what needs to be done and what should be done in order to make their children a more productive citizen in Trinidad.
And what is the level of involvement in terms of collaboration with the Ministry of Education or the Division of Education in the Tobago instance to implement programs, support, to ensure that there is balance? Because at the end of the day, you want to also include policies. What type of policies have been introduced and implemented to ensure talking is one thing, but you have to have some kind of policy guideline and, of course, enforcement to ensure that they really get what is happening here and they understand what they need to do and where they need to be.
And I do share your concern, and I do agree. I think that in terms of policies, that is something that will be an ongoing process in that as we move forward and we look to see how we can develop, that relationship. That is something that would be done. I am totally open to that kind of suggestion. Presently, we work with the Ministry of Education at least to facilitate that transition in terms of police officers going to schools. We even have where we are encouraging every station to adopt a school, so that at least especially where we find schools that are given problems. I'm hearing about so often about the Mason Hall School and that kind of thing. We want to adopt these schools and therefore go into them. We believe if the presence of the police is there, it can really help to bring about that level of transformation and change that we're looking for.
Commissioner Shennel, Felix, and it's my pleasure to join the discussion this morning. Now, I want to come in from a bit of a human perspective. I've seen a number of the viral videos of students having those fights in school. And sometimes you see a situation where it's one student versus about 10. And even as a mother, I often get so frustrated, and the anger that rises up in me, I often think, if that was only my child. And then you see a situation where a parent goes up to a school and confronts a student, and you can understand from a human perspective, when you look at 10 children beating on your child, how would you really react to that? So where do we find a middle ground between giving parents justice for the injustice that happens on the school compound with their children and trying to go about doing the right thing?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we have to understand the heart of the problem, to me, is a problem of the heart. And therefore, if we start to take everything emotionally, we can find ourselves even going down a road where what I call a slippery slope. We have to stop and start to think that, there is a way that society has put in place for us to deal with problems. And it has to be that we must follow the rule of law. The rule of law tells us how to deal with it. When we fail to teach our children to follow the rule of law, this is what happens. We have lawlessness. And therefore, the TTPS, we are about bringing back that rule of law. So we are saying that where these situations are done, we are going to deal with it decisively. We are going to ensure that at least if there's something called the red hot stove rule. If you put your hand on the stove, immediately you get burned. So we are saying that there's a need for some level of immediacy to deal with these things, to bring these people to justice so that they can understand that, what you are facing now is a consequence of that bad behavior. And therefore, we are going to not just be doing it immediately, but we're going to be consistent and we're going to be impartial. So it doesn't matter who does it. We are going to ensure that we give the full brunt of the law so that people could understand that we need to come back to a level of discipline, especially as it relates to our youths.
I'm glad that you said that. And even as it pertains to going through the rule of law and doing things the way that things should be done, there was a situation that occurred in Bethel, Tobago a few weeks ago where a police officer would have taken the law into his own hands and would have, killed a member of that Bethel community. This evening we see that the members will be doing a silent march in Bethel. And when we talk about doing things the way that things should be done and not taking the law into your own hands, we want to ensure that there's a balanced approach. And that is not just for the citizens, but it also applies to the officer. So even as that case as it pertains to that case? Where are we with that?
Well, let me just say, for that matter, and as well as any other matter, there is a procedure that the police service goes through. Nobody is above the law. And therefore, that matter is being investigated. The last thing I know is that a file is on the desk of the senior superintendent. And as soon as it is completed, it goes to the DPP, and the DPP makes the decision. No, there is not going to be a cover-up. There is going to be a level of transparency, integrity, and accountability. As far as I'm concerned, or as far as leadership is concerned, while I'm in the chair. And therefore, we are going to deal with every matter based on its own merit. I am not here to state innocence or guilt, and we are going to be very impartial in relation to this. And we're going to just allow, as I said, the rule of law, the process that we have within the service, we are going to allow it to have its own course, and we're going to see what the end result is.
Excellent.
And I'm happy that you mentioned that there's going to be no cover-up and that a thorough investigation is going to be conducted. And these are the things that the citizenry would like to hear and to see the follow-through and the accountability, because we have to remember that we had a blow in terms of public trust and confidence in the TTPS, and this is a perfect opportunity to restore that confidence in the citizenry in the TTPS, to ensure that the policing is done in a way that will bring the type of results that we're looking for. We just came out of an election, and we're talking, for us here on Tobago Update Television, accountability is very, very important. And we are literally following what is happening, and we are trying to hold public officers accountable for the things that they promised, for the policies that have been implemented, the enforcement and the execution, and ensuring that the results that we're looking for in terms of performance actually happens. So we really want to see that happening, not just in this situation, but in all situations. Shennel mentioned earlier in terms of the humanness of situations happening, and you spoke to the policies and the procedures. But when you're talking about something actually happening and you having a feeling, we are human beings. That's where we start. First of all, we are man. And so we have emotions, and we want to get justice for what is happening. And so we really want to be holding the TTPS and all other governing bodies accountable to what they are responsible for. The TTPS tagline is to protect and to serve with pride. And we want to see that happening here in Trinidad and Tobago, and more so in our local communities in Tobago. Tobago is a small community where everybody knows the neighbor, but now we're seeing where people are migrating to communities. We might not know who these people are. You don't have a background, any type of background information on these people. How is the TTPS ensuring that can we call ourselves indigenous or people to specific communities, remain safe in our communities, feel comfortable and confident that even when people come into our communities, there are things established that we can remain safe and that we can count on the TTPS. We can count on the organizations that are set up, that are in collaboration with the TTPS, all the protective services coming forward. What is the conversation happening there in terms of collaboration to ensure the spaces remain safe for us, and that we can feel confident going to somebody and saying, hey, I have some information. I want you to investigate this for me. Can you do a drive-by? Can you patrol this area? What is the kind of confidence level we can have in the TTPS where that is concerned?
Well, I am of the firm opinion that the issue before us is not one where we want to see, it's not one of reduction of crime, but the fear of crime. And therefore, it is the fear of crime that really brings about that level of unsafe perception. I think that if we want to talk about the fear of crime, the police service, we are starting in terms of how we treat the public. I think when a person comes to the station and they recognize that at least you have a police service that cares about you, that is concerned about your welfare, that is able to give you follow-up in terms of your crime, you understand that, hello, what you have is a caring police service, and you're able to add value to persons' lives. Then people feel that level of safety. Because I have just stated that we have seen a 33% reduction. And still, people don't care about your stats. But
no, they don't. Exactly. That's the reality, you know.
But last year, that was the issue. We talk about, look how much murders. So you use the stats to justify your own perception that, hello, a crime is out of control, and you're using murders. Now we're using the same stats to show you that, hello, we have a greater control over the situation, and we don't care about your stats. Because at the end of the day, it's not about stats. It is about how people feel. And we have to understand that. And therefore, I am saying the police service, we are doing our due diligence. It's time that, and as I told the police officers across here as we roll out our strategic plan, I said, do me a favor. Let us start to treat people as people. Every person come into that station, think of that person as your mother, as your brother, as your sister. You know, how would you treat them? We need to get that level of customer service. We have to start to add value to what we're doing. I think that is the first way to start. However, we need to ensure that we are more consistent in terms of our response time, and we are working on that. We are actually right now rolling out, giving every division at least 3 more vehicles. We want to ensure that our police officers be more confident in terms of what they're doing. So we are getting bulletproof vests, we are getting firearms, different things for them, so that when we look into the windscreen of our future, we are seeing a better days coming. But at the same time, we are saying that the public must also know they have a responsibility. You need to join us on this fight and understand it's not just about the police. You need to do your due diligence, keep your house safe. You can't leave your house open. You can't leave keys in your cars and expect things to go the way it is. You need to do your due diligence, and we are going to together make sure that Tobago safe again.
Excellent. Well, guys, we unfortunately have to cut right here and take a quick break, but we'll be back right after this. See you soon. Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago, right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Shennel Felix. And well, Adana had to leave me this morning, but I'm going to continue our conversation as we continue chatting with the Commissioner of Police, Junior Benjamin. Good morning and welcome back.
Yes, it's a privilege again to be here, and we're having a good conversation, very interesting.
Yes, I mean, it's sad that we had to take a break because we could have been chatting all that time, right? Although we were off camera.
Sure.
But even as it pertains to our beautiful island of Tobago, which you were born and bred right here, Tobagonian, we know that last year we saw the highest rate of crime on the island. And though the Tobago House of Assembly does not have immediate authority, or it's not under the remit of the THA to deal with crime on the island, what have you been doing and the TTPS on a whole to work in tandem with the Tobago House of Assembly to ensure that there are effective crime fighting mechanisms that is in alignment with the THA's objective for Tobago?
Well, I would start off by saying the Chief Secretary and other members, we met with the Chief Secretary, his team, and the TTPS earlier this year. And it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful meeting. It was a meeting where, again, he stated and shared his concern about the crime situation. We vowed and commit ourselves once again to ensure a greater level of collaboration, a greater level of commitment of the officers, and putting our strategies in place. It's all about our anti-crime plan that we have implemented. And what I can say, again, ACP Subaru and Senior Super Eli and the rest of the team here in Tobago, we recognize that the strategy is working for us. And we're not here to say we are successful, but we are saying that there are small wins that we are seeing. When we look at even the murder rate in Tobago, there is a 70% decline in terms of murders. We have 3 murders against 10 last year. And again, it is saying to us, out of all the divisions, when we look at the percentage, it is the greatest percentage that we've seen throughout all our divisions in Trinidad and Tobago. So it means that when things are going bad, we blame the leader. But I think if it's going good, we should also compliment the leader. So the leadership in Tobago is really, they're doing their homework. They're looking at what needs to be done, and they have put the hard work in, and we are seeing the rewards in Tobago space.
Right, and you spoke extensively about giving more resources to the different districts to ensure that they can, fulfill their duties, but there still remains the issue of available resources. Even as it pertains to new technology, being used to fight crime? You know, what is being done to ensure that when the different areas and districts submit requests and proposals for new equipment and new technology to fight crime, that it's actually being done and finances are being allocated to bring the police up to the level of technology that the criminals have?
Well, the truth is that there's certain things within your remit and there's certain things that are outside your remit. What we recognize is that the government, they are interested in assisting the police in fighting crime. And I must say that we are seeing some positive traction in that regard. And therefore, I think what leadership has to do is to ensure that we do much with what we have. And as we do that, we anticipate that more will come. We have looked at what we want to see. It is our intention to have what we call a technology-driven solution to crime, so that there is something that we want to bring about, and the government catered for it in its budget, which is called seismic. And this is where we're bringing all the intelligence together. And so you get all the viewing that you would have on your CCTV camera coming in, all the information that you get from the drones coming in, and all of them coming to one area where we are able to look at the situation and be able to even know when a crime is taking place, where we should do. And we have right now, presently, we are working on having all our vehicles GPS outfitted, so that as we go out there, we can tell exactly where our vehicles are, so that we can even put roadblocks and different things in place so that we could stop crime.
Right, and we know that criminals now have a quite complex and extensive criminal network in Trinidad and Tobago. Last year, we saw an issue where into the Tunapuna Regional Corporation area, there were CCTV cameras that persons thought were public, but were actually criminals put them up in order to monitor the area. And it just shows that they are sometimes even a couple steps ahead of the TTPS. When we look at the type of technology that they're using, the networks, the connectivity, the WhatsApp groups, what is the TTPS doing to compete with that?
Well, first of all, I think that you have to understand that I would say that we are winning the war against crime at this stage, because you want to, first of all, either disrupt or dismantle those operations. When we look at what is happening now, we are seeing that disruption. Take Port of Spain, for instance. You would have seen, when we look at Port of Spain, we've seen a 69% drop in murders. And it means, therefore, while that would have been the place where the gangs are, because we were able to infiltrate that area with our strategies and with the police officers, especially during the SOE, we were able to, again, disrupt the crime situation there. And what you recognize is that there is a disbursement, and even some people leaving and fleeing the country. So the TTPS, we are on top of all things. It's all about getting the intelligence, but you have to take intelligence and turn it into evidence. That is a process, and therefore it is not something that happens overnight. But nevertheless, as we seek to do that, we are also putting anti-crime measures in place. So therefore, there are regular patrols, there are targeted patrols. We are going against those what we call priority offenders, and we are doing our gang mining. We are seeing the associates of those gangs, and we are targeting those persons. So the police service, we are doing our due diligence. We are working on these things, and even though people might not see the technology out there, it is working behind the scenes, and it is helping us slowly but surely get control of the crime situation.
Right, but the truth is resources are limited. And as you said, you don't allocate money to yourself. Your monies are allocated by the government. Is the TTPS currently open to partnerships with corporate Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that some of its community campaigns are done? Because as you said, a lot of the times, even when you do get the finances, you have to focus on the fact that there are so many basic needs that need to be fulfilled, like facilities and, you know, these things that keep officers comfortable to continue doing their job. So when you want to do those extra work in the community, the extra campaigns, sometimes you probably just want to go out and do something for the people in the area, just don't have the resources to do so. Are you open to that type of assistance?
The TTPS, we are open to partnerships, and we want to strengthen our stakeholder partnerships, and that's internal or external. Nevertheless, I want you to also be very mindful that, especially as a leader, when corporate Trinidad and Tobago comes and there's help, we have to be careful even with that, because people tend to even use that to place the police in a box. Hey, don't forget, we help you. I have a situation where, again, in Tobago, I was the senior superintendent in Tobago, and again, a particular individual was treated in a particular way by police officers. And the response is that, hello, don't forget, I am one that normally helps the police. And I'm saying, that has nothing to do with it. If you break the law, we deal with it. And when you start to have these situations, we have to be mindful that the opposite also takes place, that people believe that because you help, we know that the police owe you something. No, this is not one of them. We are not going to be bought. The police service will not be bought. We are going to do our jobs impartially, and no one is above the law. And therefore, I'm just saying, with that, as much as we appreciate those help, I want it to be known that it is not going to be where the police is going to be bought. We are going to be very firm in terms of our position to ensure safety and security for all.
Excellent. And when we talk about confidence in the police, we can't talk about confidence in the police by only looking at it from the perspective of external public confidence. We also look at internal confidence. How confident are officers in the very system that they operate in on a daily basis? When people look at the TTPS, they call it a cutthroat environment, actually. Even with the situation that happened with the former police commissioner, persons are saying that, wow, the TTPS is quite cutthroat. What are you doing internally to ensure that officers remain confident in the system, that they can go to work confidently and look at their colleagues as colleagues and persons that have their backs, and not people who, if they slip, as we say, they get their throat cut?
And that's the thing about it. Because when, as an organization, you speak to transparency and integrity, we have to stand up for some things, because I think more than any other organization, the TTPS is probably the one organization that carry most of its members to court. And I am saying that there is a good in that, because it shows that level of transparency that nobody is above the law. If you are called to this organization, then there must be a standard that is required across the board when you wear that uniform. And I think that Trinidad and Tobago need to appreciate that level of transparency in relation to the police service. For the officers themselves, even yesterday we were talking about, when you decide to join the service, you need to have a resilient mindset. It means, therefore, as a defined mindset, it is said that mindset is an internal armor. If it is broken, the world will break you. But if it is unbroken, you can break the world. And I am saying that we are about breaking through the world. And therefore, the things that we face will not stop us. We will continue to do it, even when we don't get the thanks from the public, because we understand that resilient mindset.
Excellent. And even on an internal level and a personal level, we're shifting gears here a bit, right? Persons may see you as the commissioner of police, but they don't know you personally. We know that you're a Tobago boy, but we don't really know you. And even as it surrounds how you became the acting police commissioner, it's a bit of a cloud surrounding that in the circumstances that led to that. How do you deal with that in leadership, to lead your team, but still stay grounded when there are questions around your leadership and if you deserve to truly be there?
And for me, I understand that, when I'm dealing with leadership is not about me. It is about others. And therefore, it is said that he who leads and no one is following is simply taking a walk. I have no intention of taking a walk. I'm about leading others, and therefore I would be the change that I want to see. I'm about being what I call a commissioner for all, and therefore people do not care how much you know unless they know how much you care. I am going around meeting my officers. From the very first day that I took up the office, I went down to every single floor in the police service commission, police headquarters and meet with the persons and appreciated them and tell them how much I appreciated the work and how much we need to work together as a team. This is about Team TTPS. It's not even about me. I think that sometimes true leadership is leading from behind, where you push people. When you push a person, the person is what you see, not the person who's doing the pushing. And I'm about pushing TTPS in front. So it doesn't even matter about me, that whether people think I'm legitimately there or not. I am there, I'm given a responsibility, and for the time that I'm given it, I think that first of all, my commitment is to God, to do the very best that I can do, and also to my fellow officers, that they know that they have a commissioner that is working for them and seeking their best interests, and also to Trinidad and Tobago, that they know that there's a commissioner that wants to see that we do not just have a reduction in crime, but also a fear of crime, so that we can have a much better police service that can serve them.
Right. And you seem to be a very stern, grounded individual. We saw a situation where it was reported in the media that on the day that the former commissioner of police returned to office, you stood your ground and you said, well, you did not receive any dismissals from the police service commission, and you stood at the head of the TTPS, which showed that you really did stand your ground. How important is it for you as you lead the TTPS to continue to stand your ground and do what you know to be the right thing?
Well, and again, and probably to even correct that, I stood my ground in terms of telling them that I did not. But I want to say at the same time, I handed over the key, because you have to understand that there's certain things that is not worth fighting for. You understand? Again, you don't fight for legitimacy. What you do, it is about giving respect. And I have always respected the Ma'am Earl Christopher. And therefore, when I was given that ultimatum, I did not fight. They wanted the office, that it was given over, because I believe in respect. And that's the thing, respect is not given. You have to earn that respect. And for me, I want to make sure that I give it so that I can get it. So I do not fight. So it was that type of thing that, again, even at the end of the day, Ma'am Christopher came back and gave me back the keys and said, no, you continue. And I'm saying that to me is true leadership. I don't have to fight for a position.
You know, that's not the things that get reported in the media. We don't see that dialogue. We don't get to see that camaraderie between you and the former commissioner. You know, there is just this public perception that it's an adversarial type relationship. And now you are bringing to the fore that, listen, we have great communication. We understand that there's a job to be done and we have to do the job.
And I think on a whole, we have to understand that Trinidad and Tobago, we are fighting each other too much. I think that there is a level of respect, mutual respect, that we must give to each other. And I think that, respect brings respect. And I have always seen Ma'am Christopher as, I would tell people, as a model, a mentor, and therefore it was only respect, and that respect brought back that level of respect, and we ended off in a very harmonious relationship.
Excellent. Well, I'm getting the nod from my producer that we have to take a break again, although we can continue going all morning with this conversation. I'm having a great time chatting with the Commissioner of Police, Junior Benjamin, but we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back right after this. See you soon. Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, I am your host, Shennel, Felix, and this morning we continue our conversation in depth. And let me just mention that we are presently at the Magdalena Grand Beach Resort here in Lowlands, Tobago. We have a beautiful view, as you saw outside in the live shot, and we are chatting with the Commissioner of Police, Junior Benjamin. Good morning and welcome back.
Yes, it's good being here again. I tell you, we're having some wonderful times, wonderful conversations.
Yes, and only if they could hear us off camera. But even as we continue this morning, you have done a great job on a personal level, as a leader, even in your personal life, leading at a God-centered place, and you have not hidden that. You have always continued to say that you place God at the forefront of your leadership. And though there are members of the TTPS who have their different religious orientation, you allow them to express that and to ensure that they lead from a place where they are centered internally. How important is that for your officers to be well-rounded but yet grounded?
Well, for me, I recognize, first of all, you have to develop the leader inside of you before you can develop the leaders around you. And therefore, for me, that internal leadership is what caused me to be where I am today. You have to be mentally strong, spiritually strong, emotionally strong to handle the challenges of being a police officer. And that, because it has helped me, is what I seek to even encourage my officers to do outside there, because it's not easy being a police officer. I think I tell them sometimes being a police officer is understanding that is like being a bridge. You cross a bridge, but how many of us stop to tell the bridge thanks? But without the bridge, you can't get from one place to the next. And the police officer, he's that type of person. We get people from one place to the next, and sometimes people don't even say thanks. But that's all part of being the bridge that we ought to be, and to be the change that we want to see. So it's all part of it.
Right, and we are seeing the TTPS moving towards a very human approach to dealing with the public. We're seeing, more activities that include the general public and allow persons to build that confidence that they can trust their officers and that they are persons just like them, understanding the very situations and circumstances that they're dealing with. They're from the same community as them. They're their neighbors, they are their cousins, their brothers, their sisters, their uncles. And, that you can feel confident to place your trust and your information, which is a key thing, because we have persons shying away from giving the intelligence because of, especially in Trinidad, the repercussions of feeling like you're saying the right things to the wrong person.
Yeah.
What is the TTPS doing to help persons feel more confident with bringing that information?
Well, first of all, let me say, we're going to a more customer-centered approach in terms of how we deal with the public. You see a lot more walkabouts. And we want people to understand that it is your friendly police officer that is on the street, that is living in your neighborhood. And therefore, we want persons to really know that they could reach out and touch the police officers. The police officers need to know that it is not about policing a station. It is about policing a community. Get out there. And at the end of the day, we want to build that legitimacy. And legitimacy is really letting the public feel like they want the police to police them. And that is what we want, because we are treating them in a particular way where they feel valued. They would want the police to police them. And that is what we want.
So we've seen a situation where a number of persons from Trinidad and Tobago are being deported back from the United States. How are we dealing with managing that? Now, we heard from the former police commissioner, Gary Griffith, who came out and said, well, this is no big issue. It's just like any other citizen from Trinidad and Tobago being released from prison. There's no difference. It's just that they're coming in from a different country. How are we dealing with that particular situation as it pertains to those deportees returning to Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I want to say the deportees issue is not a new thing. It has happened years ago, continue, and it's just that it probably might be happening in a more frequent manner now. But nevertheless, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we have always had what we call a multi-agency approach. It's not just about the TTPS, it's about the TTPS working with the immigration, working with the customs, and ensuring that we put things in place where we get all the necessary documentation, all the necessary things in relation to the policies and the rights of an individual done, and in this case, DNA, etc., so that we continue to monitor these persons, especially those who have very serious offenses. We are saying that, again, a level of monitoring would be done. But the aim of the monitoring is not that we are watching you and that you feel like the police is always watching you, but is that we want to monitor them so that they can become productive citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. At the same time, we are not naive. We are going to liaise with our international partners to understand the crimes that has been committed. And also, we are going to be on guard to ensure that they do not seek to commit those crimes here, because we will take a zero tolerance approach in dealing with those situations.
So, and are you confident in the process of the Police Service Commission as it pertains to appointing, because you're acting, currently you are the acting Commissioner of Police, are you confident in the process of appointing a Commissioner of Police?
I am 100% confident in the Service Commission. The process, again, I can't go into it much, but I think the process was a very long and hard one, but it's one that I think whatever decision and whoever they select would be a very good candidate. And again, it's all about team, TTPS, and the support will be there, because I think all the candidates are persons who I believe are very good candidates to lead the TTPS.
Excellent. And as we round up this morning's conversation, is there anything that you want to say to the officers of the TTPS, specifically here in Tobago, but nationally, as it pertains to moving forward and the leadership and the objective and strategies moving forward?
Well, to my officers, first of all, I'm so very proud to be the Acting Commissioner of Police and to lead them at this time. I think that we have some of the bravest, most resilient officers, officers with so much wealth of education and experience. And I think that what we have accomplished over these couple of 5 months has been extraordinary. I want to encourage them to continue the fight. Let us understand that we are Team TTPS, and therefore there is no I in team. Let us continue to understand that we are here to serve the public, and let's do it with pride, with that professionalism, respect, integrity, dignity, and excellence. But there's also another side of pride that we need to understand, which is about presence. It's about image. It is about understanding that it's about devotion. It is about, efficiency. We want to bring that side of pride, so that whatever we do it well. And Trinidad and Tobago must be proud about that gray and blue that you're wearing. People, we are part of an excellent organization, and it is my intention to make the police service an employer of choice, where people want to join the service because we are able to bring value to Trinidad and Tobago.
Excellent. We want to thank you so much for your time here this morning. And only if we could have gone a bit longer, but we know your schedule is very busy this morning. Hopefully we get you back when you're back in Tobago again to chat more on all that the TTPS is doing as it pertains to crime fighting and community engagement. Guys, this is where we end our program here today. Again, I am your host, Shennel Felix, and we want to thank you for sticking with us here at the Magdalena Grand Beach Resort in Tobago. We have a beautiful view outside, and courtesy Magdalena, we're about to have a wonderful breakfast. So guys, we want to thank you for being a part of this morning's discussions. We want to thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. And I want to say have a great day and thank you.